Dallas was smart enough to keep its mouth shut in reaction to this. All right, the 49ers and the Jaguars were not, and they are absolutely full of.
Paul, we've seen a handful of teams, Jacksonville, Dallas, San Francisco. Those are the three teams fined by the NFL. Head coaches were fined by the NFL. OTAs, some practices removed by the NFL for next year. Some teams lost a week. Some teams lost 2 days. I think Jacksonville lost 2 practices. But your thoughts on how this punishment was handled, and let me get to the specifics of it. The specifics of the violations are unknown, though they typically center on, this is from CBS, intensity of practice sessions resulting in contact. Players are in shorts, jerseys, and helmets during these sessions, meaning no contact is expected, and it's minimal if non-existent. What that's saying is they practically have a walkthrough at these OTAs now. They don't even have one-on-ones, meaning they do not have wide receivers against cornerbacks during these practices. It's crazy. But yet we keep attendance on these practices. There are strict guidelines for this that's negotiated and collectively bargained, and they're voluntary. But this goes to minicamp as well, to my knowledge. They can only do certain things during mandatory minicamp. The fines, though, are for the voluntary OTA portion of the offseason.
Yeah, well, Dallas was smart enough to keep its mouth shut in reaction to this. All right, the 49ers and the Jaguars were not, and they are absolutely full of. All right? Listen, the 49ers in a statement said, "We take following league rules very seriously." No, you don't. You didn't take them seriously. You violated them. So how can you say this? How can you say this? The Jaguars, under Urban Meyer, who I knew was going to have problems with stuff like this because Urban Meyer sets his own rules. He doesn't follow anybody else's. The Jaguars said, this is even worse. Jaguars said the Jaguars are vigilant about practicing within the CBA rules. No, you're not. If you were vigilant about practicing in the CBA rules, you wouldn't have violated the CBA rules. Can you not read the CBA rules? Is there a literacy problem here? Because you're saying you're vigilant about following them, but you're being fined and docked practice days for failing to follow them. So how can you say this with a straight face? Amy Palcic is the new PR director down there. She's one of the best. How can Urban Meyer force her to write these words? How can they make these statements, these two teams, saying, we follow the rules, on the heels of the NFL announcing they didn't follow the rules?
So what I'm trying to wrap my head around here is, how do you break these rules if there's no contact and there's no one-on-ones? So if it's as strict as you're running routes against air and you're catching passes, sometimes sometimes the quarterback throws to the receiver of these practices.
Sometimes they fake.
How is there contact?
The Titans, they just were doing the motion.
How is there contact if you can't, like, off the line of scrimmage, you can't have a one-on-one situation?
Also,
how is there contact in this practice?
It sets you up for such bad vibes with your players.
Is some of this like the length of practice?
It sounds like there was contact.
I don't know how that's possible.
I don't know either, and I don't know how the players. Now the Jaguars are very young, but they still have veterans.
Oh,
I mean, you have guys who know the rules.
Yes.
These teams all had, virtually all of them, had the PA send out things where they talked about not showing up. They were encouraged by the union not to show up. Well, they're not showing up because they feel they're asked to do things in the off season that extend well beyond what other leagues do in the off season, which is nothing. And so they don't want to be there for the offseason. I think the players are perfectly aware of what is and is not allowed in the offseason, where they're looking to not do a lot of work because they feel like they do, and they do, quite frankly, do a hell of a lot of work during the season when they're beaten on weekly, which is, the nature of the game that they play. But, if I'm a veteran guy that feels any safety in my job, also, they've got a whistleblowing system where the team doesn't have to know anything about who's reporting this to the union, which then takes it to the league, which results in the kind of thing. I also think losing 2 OTA practices is not, and a coach getting fined $100,000 or $50,000 is,
So Urban Meyer was fined $100,000. McCarthy and Shanahan fined $50,000 each.
And then the team a fine on top of that.
Yeah.
But these are minor. I mean, it looks good. It looks like it's being policed. But you would take that trade-off. If you feel like you're really getting something out of what you did, that's the thing that I find hard to believe. If you take what I saw the Titans do and you amp it up 20%, they're not getting that much more out of it. It's not worth even those low fines and the reputational hit that you're taking right now, and the idiocy of saying that you're vigilant about following the rules when it's clear that you're not vigilant about following the rules. So I don't really understand the payoff, and I don't understand why guys who are as anal as Shanahan and Meyer would go beyond the boundaries.
This falls into the category of, did I actually read this or did I dream this last night? Did I read it properly? Because I haven't been able to find the article that I thought I read. That the 49ers were told to shut down their final week of OTAs this year.
Yeah, so they lost one of the teams. I don't remember which. So
49ers.
49ers lost 2 practices this year, whereas the Jaguars and Dallas are punished next year.
Gotcha. So they were told to shut things down this year for the last week.
And they didn't fess up and say they were punished. They made it like they were closing early.
They made it like they were the Houston Texans and they accomplished everything they needed to accomplish this offseason and they were going home for the summer.
Right. Like Trey Lance didn't need the extra 2 days of work.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified every time Outkick 360 goes live. We are live weekdays, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern, right here across the Outkick network. And while you're at it, like this video and let us know what you think in the comments below.